Welcome back to the Freelance Shift. Thank you for joining me again. Today we're going to talk about tech again. And we're talking about a technology that many of you have heard of, and I'm sure that many of you have used. But I figured I'd talk about it today because I know that sometimes I do get the question of if you really do need to pay for a tool like Dropbox in particular. I firmly do believe that it does still deserve a place in your Freelance Toolkit. And during this episode, I'm going to explain why. As you know, as freelancers, we wear every hat. Sometimes we're creators, marketers, project managers, and we probably even dabble in tech support, whether we like it or not. And while we have a certain degree of freedom as freelancers, which we love, it also means that our systems matter because we are essentially measured on the work that we produce. So we have to make sure that we're efficient. Personally, as a freelancer who spends a lot of time using and teaching various softwares, I'm always exploring tools that are going to help me create a better system and simplify the behind the scenes work that I am doing as a freelancer. Of course, in these videos, I share some of this information with you so that you can also focus on what you do best. And for all of us, that's creating, teaching, and serving clients. One tool that has stood out to me for the test of time is Dropbox. I've been using Dropbox for many years. And this is a technology that when I look at the yearly charge, I do have a yearly subscription to Dropbox. That's the method that worked best for me. And when I see that charge appear on my yearly credit card statement, I always feel like it's well worth that couple of $100s that I spent on it each year. If you've been freelancing for any amount of time, you know that keeping files organized and accessible is absolutely essential for your business success and your sanity. But let's be realistic. File management can be a constant balancing act. How many times have you had an issue sharing a file with a coworker or a client? Between client documents, invoices, contracts, and all the creative assets that I create, I've found that your digital workspace can get messy fast. And I'm sure that that's a sentiment that you probably share if you've been doing this even for a little while. So that's where Dropbox comes in. I know that there are newer tools out there that get more buzz, but for me, Dropbox sort of remains that quiet powerhouse for freelancers like me who want to stay organized, professional, and efficient. I've personally used it for years. First, when I owned my yoga and Pilates studio, and now in my freelance learning and design business. It continues to be one of the most reliable tools in my digital toolkit. And let me give you a few reasons on why I still rely on it and how it can help you simplify your freelance life if you're not using it. First, it lets you create a professional, organized file hub. I store all my files in Dropbox. Yes, all of them. Audio, video, word processing documents, presentations, e-learning, files, images, you get the idea. All of them. And I have never had a problem with storing any of them. Also, it's my experience that when clients see Dropbox, especially in a shared link, they immediately recognize it. And that familiarity is important. It helps build the trust relationship between yourself and your client, especially when you're sending large deliverables like design files, video footage, or other learning materials, as is the case for me. Now, when I ran my studio, I used Dropbox to store class schedules, marketing materials, and client waivers. And now I use it for totally different files, but the Dropbox tool scales effortlessly, and I feel like it will work regardless of what type of business you're running. Basically, Dropbox functions similar to the file structure that you use in your hard drive or your OneDrive or your Mac OS system. You can create subfolders and easily search for files. This helps to keep your work streamlined and gives you a seamless experience when collaborating. Second, you can share files securely and professionally. Dropbox makes sharing files with others pretty easy. Its file sharing controls also make it easy to protect your work. So you can do something as simple as sending a sharing link to those who you wish to share the file with, or you can use more advanced sharing options such as setting passwords on shared links, controlling who can view or edit your files, or set expiration dates for time-sensitive deliverables. As you can imagine, these features are especially valuable if you handle confidential client materials as part of your freelance business. Third, you can keep your workflow in sync across devices. I find this especially helpful because I am guessing that, like me, you switch between your laptop, tablet, and phone daily. Well, luckily, Dropbox automatically syncs files across all of these devices so that you can pick up where you left off, whether you're at a coffee shop or waiting for a client call. The Dropbox mobile app, which I do use all the time, even lets you scan receipts, notes, and whiteboard sketches into PDFs when you're on the go. This is great for tracking expenses or capturing ideas. I know that I personally use it frequently. Fourth, you can use Dropbox Paper for simple collaboration. So if you collaborate with clients or subcontractors, Dropbox Paper is one of those underrated gems. It's like a lightweight document editor that's perfect for drafting outlines, planning projects, or leaving feedback. So anything that you're doing to collaborate, it really does work pretty well. It integrates smoothly with stored files, so you can directly link to project folders or assets that you would like to collaborate on. Fifth, it backs up your freelance life, and this cannot be understated. As a freelancer, your files are your life force, and that is not an exaggeration. Your work is your livelihood, and nothing is going to be worse than losing it due to a tech glitch or a computer crash. For this reason, I strongly recommend that you do not rely on your hard drive to store your files because someday it may not work. Using a tool like Dropbox automatically backs up your files so that when your device fails, you can keep your business going without skipping a beat. And you even have a version history that makes it easy to recover older versions of files. When I transitioned from running my studio to freelancing, I didn't have to worry about losing years of business documents in case I ever need those documents later on. Thankfully, Dropbox had everything safely stored and easy to access, and they're there if I ever need them. That peace of mind is worth every penny. Sixth, Dropbox integrates with some other tools. It's another important but sometimes overlooked advantage is that Dropbox plays nicely with other apps that freelancers use, like Zoom. You can record meetings directly to Dropbox. How fabulous to have that meeting recording available. Slack, you can share links without having to re-upload files. In Canva, you can store all of your design assets. And even something like QuickBooks or FreshBooks, you can back up all your invoices, or if you're like me and you're an Excel sort of freelancer and you have custom design templates, you can back up those documents too. It really does integrate well and saves you time dealing with your digital workflow. Now, you may wonder if other cloud-based storage options are comparable. My opinion is yes and no. As you know, there's no shortage of cloud storage tools. You've got Google Drive, you've got OneDrive, you've got iCloud, you've got Box. But that's where, in my opinion, Dropbox does still often win for freelancers. Its sync engine is among the fastest and most reliable in the industry. It doesn't just update entire files, it updates the parts that's changed. So it's fast. It's a huge time saver. And if you're working with large videos, design files, or training materials, this matters. I personally find that once in a while, I do use Google Drive and OneDrive too, but that they can occasionally lag, especially with big files. I also like how Dropbox maintains consistent file formatting. I know that sometimes I will upload a non-native file format to Google Drive, and then when I open it, I find that the formatting has slightly changed. Well, that's the good thing about Dropbox. It avoids changing the file format. It doesn't convert your files. It stores them exactly as is. Thank goodness. It makes for a better choice for client-facing deliverables, contract and branded materials, where you're not sure about their native environment and what it will look like if it does convert on their end. Dropbox, as I mentioned, is also intuitive for clients. Clients can generally just view or download a Dropbox link easily, especially if you use the Dropbox feature of sharing the link with anyone. That really does keep things friction-free. I know that sometimes with Google Drive or OneDrive, you have to manage access permissions or ask clients to log in. Now, I haven't personally done this yet, but I also know that Dropbox does have some professional branding options where you can customize shared links with your logo, your business name, or a various background image related to your business. Now, that is something that many other storage tools don't offer. Of course, some do, but not all of them. And I do feel like this could potentially be a powerful branding touch for client presentations. So as my business grows, it may be something that I consider down the line. I also feel like Dropbox has a reliable file recovery where, as I mentioned earlier, it does keep that version history and deleted file access for you, even across your synced devices. I know that Google Drive and OneDrive offer these features, but Dropbox recovery tools tend to, in my opinion, be easier to navigate and less dependent on the device that you use. I've used it several times, and I'm very thankful that that feature exists. It's saved me a few times. So I often get asked why I don't use Box and why I don't switch to Box. Now, I really like Box. It's clean, it's secure, and it has really strong collaboration features. If I were running a larger company, I'd probably seriously consider it because Box has enterprise-level compliance, advanced admin controls, and integrations that work beautifully for teams with IT oversight or corporate clients. I use it with a few of my larger clients, and it's a fabulous tool. But as a freelancer, Box felt like a little too much for my one-person business. It's designed, in my opinion, for organizations that need centralized management, permissions, and compliance, things that most freelancers, at least like myself, don't really need to worry about daily. On the other hand, Dropbox is easy for me to manage as a solopreneur or someone with a small staff. It's really fast to set up and share with clients. I don't have to spend a lot of time configuring in the back end before using it. Pretty instantaneous. Last, it's also easier to use when you don't have to worry about additional user accounts. Overall, I just consider it to be more flexible for smaller businesses. So basically, Box, excellent platform, but in my opinion, for a smaller freelance business, Dropbox just feels lighter, faster, and better suited to how we as freelancers actually work. Now, in my case, I am a freelancer, but I don't do everything alone. Recently, I hired someone to help me manage the back end of my business, doing some administrative tasks, specifically uploading videos like this one to YouTube and the Freelance Shift website. Now, I can say firsthand that Dropbox has made this process incredibly smooth. I can upload the video files or transcripts into a shared folder, and my person can easily access everything that she needs without us having to go back and forth endlessly through emails with attachments or lost files. When I make the updates, she sees them immediately because of Dropbox's quick sync process. It's very streamlined, and it's, in my opinion, saved us hours each week on what we would have to do if we didn't have a tool like Dropbox. And it's that behind the scenes efficiency that really makes a big difference when you're balancing multiple projects or clients. So in summary, using Dropbox is a small touch, but one that signals to clients that you run your freelance business seriously. So even though Dropbox may not be the newest tool on the block, it's one that I have found to be one of the most dependable. And for freelancers like me who want simplicity, professionalism, and peace of mind, Dropbox is still a smart, steady choice. So if you found this video beneficial, please like and subscribe to the Freelance Shift. I regularly release videos to help other freelancers work smarter, not harder, by building systems that support the creative, flexible freelance life, so we can focus on what really matters. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Take care.